Okay, so I just want to follow up on a video that I uploaded a few days ago, and this was about the government being urged to introduce pay per mile. Now, in that video, I basically based the video on a report in the Telegraph that had a headline that essentially said the RAC has urged the government to introduce pay per mile road charging as soon as possible. Now, since that came out, and obviously I recorded the video, I edited it, I'd uploaded it, and then after that I came to learn that the RAC has issued a statement in which they are saying that that was inaccurate reporting, and it's then basically denying that they'd said that. Now, however, having read the actual statement that the RAC has put out, and also having looked at the original post from which the Telegraph probably created their story, I don't think that's entirely accurate to say. So what I'm going to do is, to be fair to the RAC, I'm going to read out their statement in full, and then I'm also going to look at that original post, which is where I believe that the Telegraph got the story from, which is actually on the site of Campaign for Better Transport, which is the actual organization that, according to that report, actually wrote the letter to the Labour Chancellor Rachel Reeves, urging her to introduce pay per mile. But first, the RAC report, RAC statement, and I'll do that right after this.
A brown car guy.
Right, so here is the statement, and the statement is dated 5th of September 2024, and the headline is Clarification on RAC Position Regarding Pay Per Mile Taxation Following Inaccurate Media Report. It says, we'd like to clarify our comments about a pay per mile system following an inaccurate media report which implied we were suggesting an additional tax on drivers. As more electric vehicles come to the road, a replacement tax system will be needed to ensure the government doesn't lose too much money and that EVs pay for their use of the roads. We have said consistently that whatever any new taxation looks like, the most important thing for us is that it's simple and fair to drivers of both conventional and electric vehicles. We don't want to see any additional taxation of drivers. We'd also like to point out that fuel duty, currently 53 pence per litre, is already effectively a tax per mile for drivers of petrol and diesel vehicles. The only variable is how fuel efficient a car is. As fuel duty isn't printed on receipts, it's not very obvious how much tax we're paying every time we fill up. At the moment, we calculate a driver with a 40 mile per gallon car is paying 6 pence a mile in fuel duty. But crucially, this works out to be far more, as VAT is then added on top of that, as well as the retailer's margin. There is clearly much work to be done on this, which is why we were encouraging the government to start thinking about it now. Now, a couple of things there. If that is a rebuttal that they never suggested pay per mile, well, that's not true, because they have, and in the statement they say that they effectively have, because they say a replacement tax system will be needed to ensure the government doesn't lose too much money and that EVs pay for their use of the roads. Well, a pay per mile road user system is the only effective way to charge an EV for its use of the roads, I'm guessing, right? So that relates to that. And then, of course, that they're trying to justify this by the fact that when they say that we don't want any additional taxation, they're trying to justify this by the fact that, well, they're saying that, well, petrol and diesel car drivers are already taxed, which is true, because effectively we are taxed per mile, because we're taxed per mile in the fuel that we use to put into our cars to drive those miles. But it's kind of slightly, I would say, it's a little bit of a stretch, I reckon. But anyway, that's their statement. That's what they've said about the Telegraph report. Now, again, if you've had a chance, you should really watch the original video that I put up on this, and in that I fully, pretty much read out the Telegraph report. Or if you can go and read it, I'll put a link below or whatever. You should go and do so. And then, yes, certainly the story tried to sensationalize it by saying that the RAC was the one that was urging the government to introduce pay per mile. In fact, it was kind of a little bit more indirect. But having said that, it's not entirely far from the truth. And I'll explain why. The reason being is because, and again, I'll put the link for this below. Hopefully, if it's still there, hasn't been deleted. On the Campaign for Better Transport is the story about what they've done. And what they've done, like I said, is issue a paper mile, a letter to Rachel Reeves suggesting that there should be paper mile. As you can see, this is the report. So, Vehicle Taxation Act the Vehicle Taxation Act to avoid £5 billion black hole, charity urges the Chancellor. Right? That's what it says. Now, the Campaign for Better Transport has written to the Chancellor urging her to reform vehicle taxation or face a massive revenue gap. This is in the Stand First. With the UK transitioning away from petrol and diesel vehicles towards zero-emission vehicles, the letter warns revenue from fuel duty will decline by an estimated $5 billion a year by 2023. And then you can go on, you can read it. Sylvia Barrett, who was quoted in the Telegraph report, is the one that's quoted there. Talks about Chancellor facing a looming black hole, how she can avoid it. The letter says, the charges that should be levied, etc., etc. And this is all somebody who's from the Campaign for Better Transport. Now, before I actually get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about the Campaign for Better Transport. Now, if you go onto the website and you click on the top menu, Transport, you go down to Cars, and then you get this. Cars are responsible for more than half of all carbon emissions from transport and are the main culprit when it comes to air pollution and congestion on our roads. I don't object to the inaccuracy or accuracy of that statement. It's true. But what I object to is the use of language, like saying cars are the culprit. Cars are not the culprit. Cars have helped humanity get around and do the stuff we've needed to do for 130 years. If you scroll down, there's different sections. So there's air pollution, congestion, car dependency. I just want to read this to you. For the millions of people who do not have access to a car, mainly older, younger people, disabled people, and those on lower incomes, the society built around car means they can end up neglected and excluded. I don't know how, because everybody needs a car to get around, and you need the use of a car. Car dependency damages communities, affects our quality of life, and has huge environmental consequences. We urgently need to address our car culture and give people more choice about how they move around. Again, I have huge problems with these statements. But anyway, I've actually covered this as well in the previous video, which again, I urge you to watch. But I just wanted to give you another snapshot, put into context, the Campaign for Better Transport, which actually was started by the Rail Association way, way, way back. It's an old organization, actually, and where they're sort of coming from when they say these things. But having said that, going back to the original post on the website that's about the headline, Vehicle Taxation Act to Avoid $5 Billion Black Hole, Charity Urges Chancellor. Like I said, Stand First, and the quotes from Sylvia Barrett. And then when you go down, you scroll down, and then it says, RAC Head of Policy, Simon Williams said. Simon Williams is indeed, in fact, I found him on LinkedIn, and Simon Williams is in fact the PR External Affairs lead. He says, I head up the PR and External Affairs team, and I'm the lead RAC spokesman on fuel, electric vehicles, and road safety, and he joined the RAC in 2012, so 12 years ago. So he is quoted in this, and this article is still up on their website. So it's not like it's been deleted or anything. So if the RAC is saying it's incorrect, well, it's still here. So this is the original, and this is where I believe that the Telegraph actually took the quote from. RAC Head of Policy, Simon Williams said, with fuel duty revenue set to fall further as more electric vehicles come onto the road, a replacement form of taxation needs to be introduced to avoid losing billions. Fair enough. They've said that in their statement as well. It goes on. Our research suggests drivers broadly support the principle of the more you drive, the more tax you should pay. Whatever any new taxation system looks like, the most important thing is that it's simple and fair to drivers of both conventional electric vehicles, is what they said in their statement as well. A pay-per-mile system could be set up according to vehicles' emissions, with EV drivers paying the least to further encourage take-up and gas guzzlers paying the most. We're not in favor of charging different amounts per mile based on the type of road driven on. So that's clearly him saying that, there should be a pay-per-mile system, which can charge, and charge petrol and diesel drivers more and charge EVs less. It goes on. and this is the real killer sentence for me, we believe the Treasury needs to get moving on creating this new system sooner rather than later. I'm sorry, but that's what the Telegraph story said, right? That the RAC, in conjunction with Campaign for Better Transport, has urged the government to soon introduce pay-per-mile. That's what that quote right there says. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'll let you make your decision on who said what and why. The reality is whether it's, and also actually, before I leave it there, excuse me, I just want to confirm, when you scroll down on this, and you get the various notes to editors, because it's a press release type thing, right? You get notes to editors. Number 5, Campaign for Better Transport leads a pay-as-you-drive forum. It leads a pay-as-you-drive forum. The Campaign for Better Transport leads a pay-as-you-drive forum. So they, members include members. Look at these. Look at all of these. No surprise that cycling is on there. No surprise that Green Alliance, Greenpeace is on there. I am surprised that the Motorcycle Action Group is on there. That took me by surprise. But the RAC and the RAC Foundation is definitely on there. I'll leave you with that.
Yo, it's called the race, tales from the future's face. 13 stories gonna take you to outer space. From Martian canyons deep to Dubai's high rise. Secret lives, AI drives to the man who flies. Pedal to the metal in a 325. Race through time, keeping hope alive. AI takeovers, more lines than blur. Get your engines ready, rev it up for sure. Quantum races, lessons at the finish line. Fast-paced fiction, it'll blow your mind. Tech and turn, more survivals to grind. Get lost in the pages, see what you find. Past predators hunt, tomorrow's man leads. Dystopian dreams where the future feeds. From India to the Middle East, stories collide. Uncharted roads in this epic ride. Jump in the driver's seat, feel the thrill. Speeding through the cosmos, chasing that chill. Worlds without wheels, secrets to unfold. In quantum races, legends are told. Quantum races, lessons at the finish line. Fast-paced fiction, it'll blow your mind. Tech and turn, more survivals to grind. Get lost in the pages, see what you find.
Shout out time, guys. Thank you so much. Hey, if you enjoy my content, why not get involved? Buy me a coffee. You can do that at either of these links. Or if you're watching on YouTube, buy me a thanks or take out a membership. It all helps. It really does.